And I heard the crossover on Saturday with Bradfo and you and Ken Laird.
Let's go!
And I know that Rob Bradford disagrees with me, which is fine. I believe that Alex Cora, using the term greedy, was in reference to what he would like this team to do at the deadline. Bradfo clearly disagrees, but your lead this morning...
I agree with you 1,000%, by the way.
You do?
Yes, of course he's talking about the deadline.
Well, Bradfo said with you guys that, or maybe it was with Ken after you left, that I think it was with Ken after you left, that I misrepresented what Alex Cora was saying, and he was just talking about getting wins. He was saying, let's get greedy with wins.
Okay.
But I just... I could not disagree more with
that word
the great
greedy,
Rob Bradford on
but
that.
That word greedy doesn't have a connotation to wins. It has to do with, like, greed means spend or buy.
Greed means get more than, go out and get more than your fair share or whatever. From
I mean, that's just would be how I would read it.
But your lead this morning was of interest, Curtis, and that is that the Red Sox have put themselves in a bad spot with Alex Cora, and that a deal should have been done with him at the start of this season.
Right. I mean, in every major sport, in every franchise, like, for example, I believe Mike Tomlin was entering a lame duck year with the Steelers. And it sort of goes without saying that you need to figure out whether he's the coach of the future or you're going in a new direction a year ahead so that the manager or head coach doesn't find themselves in a lame duck spot. The reason Parcells and Kraft separated was because Parcells was year to year and Kraft was trying to build an organization. And those two things were incongruent when it comes to running a successful team and sports league or sports organization. So with the Red Sox, they knew Cora was entering the final year of his deal. They made a change with Chaim Bloom, who, despite what Sam Kennedy told us, did not have the best relationship with Alex Cora. And now they have Craig Breslow, whose lone job that we've heard is really deciding the fate of Alex Cora. That is not on Craig Breslow. That's on John Henry and Sam Kennedy. Now, Rob believes Sam Kennedy when he says that Craig Breslow will decide on the fate of Alex Cora, which, another whopper. But you don't, if this is an entity that is heading in the same direction with everybody on board, the manager is extended or he's moved. And Alex Cora today, with 79 games left in the season, is all gone at the end of the year. So the fact that they even find themselves here suggests the biggest issue with this organization is the inability to commit to what they are doing. They're having it.
No, don't you think they have committed to, when you say what they're doing, they are committed to spending way less than they ever used to spend on a baseball team.
And they let us
And that's why Alex Cora is a part of that.
But they're not committed to it. They haven't dealt at the deadline. Ever since they traded Christian Vasquez, they've done nothing. They had Big Maple, who was a guy in Paxton that people liked. They could have got somebody for, who ended up fading down the stretch on a team that was nowhere near the playoffs. They have had opportunity after opportunity to actually stake the flag in the ground and say, we're selling and we're rebuilding, and it's going to take some time. But they haven't, because they charge the highest ticket prices in baseball, and they can't be honest with their fan base about what they're doing because they fear.
But I think the selling becomes not re-signing guys that for a high price that people want back. Like, so the selling
is not that. The selling would be getting assets that expedite the rebuild.
I think it's not about selling. It's about lowering the payroll in the sense of, we're not going to bring back Evaldi. We're not going to spend that much money to bring him back. We're not going to bring back Xander Bogaerts. We're not going to spend that much money to bring him back. We don't want to spend $20 million a year on Kyle from Waltham. I think it's more about lowering the payroll. And when it comes to the manager position, I agree with Ken. I believe, and Ken said this yesterday on the show, that they have the guy in waiting, very similar to what the Patriots did.
So
in
then why
Jason
isn't he the
Varitek.
manager now? Why didn't they say, okay, Alex, goodbye, and we'll give Varitek a 5-year deal?
Because Alex has one more year on his deal.
I know, but that's a lame duck. That never happens with the Red Sox in my entire lifetime.
But there's a new Red Sox.
No, it's not. They're owned by the same people.
No. But they're changing their philosophy.
Right. So if they're changing their philosophy, why wouldn't they get the philosophy with the manager that will be the one implementing it?
Their philosophy is this. We got Alex for one more year.
But why wouldn't they bring in Varitek at the start of the season to begin the 5-year run with Varitek with the philosophy in place?
Because they're figuring we'll give Alex this last year, and then we're going to move on.
If he's
I don't know why. I don't know.
If he's not part of the future, then why is he here?
It saves maybe it saves the money.
Exactly.
Right, but we know that.
Why do you expect that Craig Breslow is sold on Jason Varitek being his next manager? I think, where are you getting that from?
I'm not getting it from anywhere specifically, but I think the organization looks at Varitek and says, here's a guy that those guys in the clubhouse will respect what he has to say. He's a former player just like Cora. I think he's won championships with this organization. He's very similar to Cora.
I think he is all of those things and more. I don't think the organization looks at him that way. So I think you're wrong about that.
I think if they thought he was the guy, he would have already been the guy.
And so I would ask you, going into this season, what do you think the number one reason was from the Red Sox perspective why they didn't extend Alex Cora?
The number one reason? Well, you finished in last place the two last year.
You think that was it?
I mean, I think that's part of it.
I don't think that was. I think it was money. I think it was money.
So you know what?
So wait a
second.
Point,
go ahead, Wiggy, sorry.
So you think they were going to give this guy the most amount of money when he finished in last place the last 2 seasons?
What?
You think the team was going to give him the highest paid salary for a manager?
I just said they aren't. They aren't going to.
No. But why would they? Is what I'm asking you.
Huh?
Why would they?
Because he's one of the best managers in baseball.
How when you finished in last place the last 2 years?
How? Because the market will dictate his salary based on what other teams view of him, and he will be the highest paid manager in Major League Baseball at the start of next season.
Well, unless the market does that. We won't know until the market does it.
I'm right. You're right. I don't know that either. But I would just say the reason why.
I mean, you guys are calling him the best manager in baseball. What has he done the past 2 years except finish in last place?
Exactly.
From there, a look at it.
I
understand
what he's done is ask them every single these last 2 years that you're referring to, ask them at the trade deadline to please add to the roster so that they could win some baseball games. That's what he's done. And what has he done this season? He's taken a team that has been dealing with a massive amount of injuries and has them well above 500 and a wild card team. And that's what he's done this season.
He's arguably the manager of the year right now. And the last 2 first halves, he has had this team in position. And I would say just quickly, Wiggy, on the approach that the Red Sox should have taken. If the Red Sox dealt Bogarts before he walked, if the Red Sox dealt all the studs they've had that have come in and signed elsewhere, even guys that were middling, they would be in a far better place now in terms of the rebuild than they were. And as you stated, all they got in the last 2 years were last place finishes anyway. The biggest problem facing this organization is a fear of being honest with the fan base about the desire to rebuild the right way, and to accept that deals are going to be made at the deadline that do not benefit this year's roster, and that Cora will indeed leave because he doesn't want to wait it out. And you know what? There will be fans that say, Cora, you know what? Have some loyalty to this organization. And there will be people like me, and I think Greg, that will say it's a mistake. But the notion that they are peddling that Craig Breslow will be the one deciding the fate of Alex Cora is on its face laughable. Sam Kennedy and John Henry will decide it. And you know why the financial implications are the biggest part of this, Greg? John Henry's part of an economic reform committee in Major League Baseball. And you know what he can't do in that spot? Just like when Jeremy Jacobs was the one forcing a lockout and getting the hard cap into the NHL. He can't be out there paying $10 million a year for his manager,
right,
when the rest of the league is spending $2 million, and in the same breath say we need to curb our spending to get the game back into the hands of the owners.
Right, but Curtis, you
great
also
point.
Here's where you also say this, and Greg, you also say it. So like you guys are basically talking on both sides of your mouth. Curtis, you were the guy who said, why would the Patriots bring back a coach in Bill Belichick who hasn't done nothing in the last 2 years, who hasn't made the playoffs? So when we
didn't say that.
No, I'm saying Curtis.
Right.
You said you should bring a guy back who hasn't done anything because he's a great coach. Well, why would you bring back a guy who the team went 4-13, whatever the hell they went? Why would you bring that guy back? So when we're looking
because
at
I think my personal opinion on Bill is very similar to my opinion on Alex Cora, and that is they both had their hands tied behind their back when it came to what they could spend and the roster.
And
so
how many times did we say, Wiggy, that Bill Belichick, the GM, got Bill Belichick, the coach, fired?
No, but
that Bill Belichick's only job was to coach.
Your point, Curtis, was get rid of Bill because the last 2 years this team was a non-playoff team, and why would you bring back a coach?
I wanted to get rid of Bill 5 years ago when they chose Tom over Bill.
We're talking about the last 2 years.
I'm not just talking about 2 years. I'm talking about the guy that willingly let the greatest player in the sport go and win a Super Bowl.
No, but we're talking about two guys that are coaches. One's a manager.
One's 72, one's 45 or 48, whatever he is.
But the point is you have a manager in Cora that, yes, I believe the players love him.
Right,
and you can't say he's had a great first half and they didn't maybe add some pieces and then the team falls apart in the second half.
So do you think Alex Cora is overrated? Or I know you think the importance of the manager in baseball in general is overrated.
I do. I believe that, yes, I believe the manager in baseball is overrated. And I feel like the Red Sox look at it like this. We can bring in a guy that could do the same thing Alex Cora does and get the same type of respect out of the players and everything that Cora and knows the game probably just as much or even better than Cora and Veritek.
See, I think you can do both things at once. Like, I think you can rebuild this team and whatever you're trying to do, leading the charge when it comes to downsizing, salary-wise, whatever, you can do that while still determining that you're going to be competitive this season. The two don't have to be in opposition to each other. Like, you can go, the Blue Jays basically are, the Blue Jays are selling, right? Justin Turner is on the trade block. Like, you can go and get Justin Turner, unbelievable clubhouse guy, loved it here, wanted to be here, and show your fans that you are committed to this team this season while you're still being financially responsible when it comes to building from prospect-wise from within. Like,
Craig,
but you can do both if you're Craig.
I get what you're saying, but those
What's
are
his
two,
first name?
Craig. But those are two different conversations. I agree with you that they should add some pieces to help with this team fight for a wild card spot. But I disagree when you go, Alex Cora is going to be the highest paid manager based off of what?
Well, I think he is. I mean, I think that there
are. Off of what?
Based off his track record, the guy has won World Series.
Well, but the World Series that he's won, people are already like, well, he was cheating and do that. And when was the last time he won a World Series?
I mean, he was
2018.
He was a game away from getting there a couple of years ago.
But my
2021 or 2022, whatever
this is where my point was. 2021. This was my point to Curtis. But the last couple of years, you finished in last place. So just like
that's 2021, that's not on him.
And Bill
Belichick, you have
Belichick.
the same. Wait a second. You give the guy credit for the first half of the season, so they don't add a few pieces in the second half. The team falls apart.
Yes.
And that's on
because
them not adding.
Every time it happens, you have players going, well, I thought maybe we'd add a little bit, so we're not adding. So I guess they don't believe in us, so we're not going to believe in ourselves. Like, it happens every year.
But isn't that the job of the manager?
Happens every year around here.
Isn't that the job of the manager to keep them still mentally invested?
I thought you said the manager doesn't have much to do with what happens.
But to keep them mentally invested.
I would say that the first half of the season shows what he's getting guys to do is overachieving, and when there isn't the common goal understanding of getting to the playoffs, when that is less reasonable or realistic, the players don't buy in. And if you want to blame Cora, that's your prerogative. I get it. Bill Belichick was let go.
Yep.
And he's sitting where you and I are, the couch.
Yep.
Cora let go today. He's got his choice of any job in Major League Baseball minus maybe one or two. Mm-hmm. So if you want to talk about the difference, that's the difference. Also, the last time Bill Belichick won a playoff game was Super Bowl 53. Cora won several playoff games in 2021.
Yeah.
Cora's also almost half the age of Bill
No,
Belichick.
I'm not saying that.
But you're using that as an example of the last 2 years.
But
those are all examples of why he is in a different spot.
But that doesn't mean he's the best. He's instantly the highest coach and should be the highest coach and paid coach in Major League Baseball.
But what do you always say about sports? Whatever people play is what your value is.
Yeah, but I don't think anybody's going to pay him where Greg is saying $8 million a year.
We'll have to see.
That's where I disagree.
I believe they will, but I've been wrong before.
They will?
Based off of what? If I'm an owner of another team, right? If I'm an owner of a team, I go, Alex Cora is probably a good coach, and I'm not knocking he isn't.
I use the example of the Mets all the time. That guy, Cone, will pay whatever it takes. He doesn't care.
Of course.
He doesn't care.
But that doesn't mean Alex Cora is going to go in there and instantly the Mets are going to be a World Series
Now we're
contender.
jumping at something. First it was he's not going to get paid. Now he's getting paid, but he'll lose.
No. He's saying that Cohen might pay him. I don't know.
I'm telling you that he will have several opportunities to make nearly $8 million to $10 million a year.
I agree. He's going to have several opportunities to manage.
Right. Something that Belichick didn't.
This is Sam from
because the Crafts sullied his name.
Right. Oh, that's right. Maybe Henry will get Bob Holen to write a story again.
This is Sam from my adopted home continent of Maine. Hello, Sam.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for taking the call.
You got it. What's up?
Hey, Wiggy, I have to disagree with you. I have to first ask, what makes someone like Wakefield or replacing Cora with someone similar to Cora the better option? I mean, is it spending? Is it money? And if that's the case,
you mean Veritek?
Not Wakefield. You mean Jason Veritek? Yeah.
Not Veritek. I'm sorry. Yep. Wake's on my mind. No, Veritek. What makes spending? It's money. It has to be money. So if that's the case, if they're not going to spend money to lock down Cora and instead stick with a guy that's similar in Veritek and with the team respects him. Why? What's the reason where it's already been proven that Cora's been a good coach? It's already been proven. He's already won your World Series. He's already done all this. I don't see. There's no difference. Just like you said, they're similar coaches. They're similar players. They played for the team. Does it become money? Is that the reason why? Looking back, yeah.
If that's if money is part of it, I get that. Why would you want to? Let's say it's going to cost you $8 million for Cora. Why would you pay him $8 million when you could pay Veritek what Cora's making now, $3.5 million, to get the same results from?
Well, you don't know you're going to get the same result. I mean,
finish in last place?
They keep going back to this.
I mean, those are the results that you've gotten from Cora the past 2 years.
Right.
Unless it changes this year and they get to the playoffs and win a World Series, aren't we saying, based off of where we are right now, the last 2 years, okay, is the last place finish from your manager?
Yeah.
Yeah, the way I view Cora is just so different. I think
why?
Because of all the reasons I've explained, that the team is not a very good team. It's not very well put together.
He says they have good talent, Cora.
Right. What do you think he's going to say? My players suck?
So do you think
he told Justin Turner, you better go elsewhere? I mean, of course, I don't think the manager or the team would ever be in a position to say the players that we have aren't good enough. But when he says we've got to get greedy, to Greg and to myself, that means let's trade one of our 600 prospects for someone that's Major League ready.
Let me use Sam Kennedy's favorite word. Is this team overachieving?
I would say yes.
Thank you.
Is that because of the manager in a large part?
I would say no.
Okay. All right.
I would say your rotation.
Okay. You're wrong. You're a liar.
I would say your rotation, your pitching is doing way better this year.
Well, then that's because of Andrew Bailey. So maybe
your pitching's doing better.
Isn't Craig Breslow a real Andy Bailey guy?
Yeah,
maybe
he brought him in.
Maybe he's going to be the next manager.
And your hitting's always been good when you look at the Red Sox. So I think I'm not like not giving Alex Cora any credit, but what I'm saying, why can't he get the guys to play like they are in the first half of the season in the second half?